So today's topic, I want to talk about how to wholesale a bad deal, right? And honestly, the reality is you can't wholesale a bad deal. You cannot wholesale a bad deal, but what do? So here's an example of this, and this recently happened to me. I got a deal under contract in Baltimore, in one of the markets I like to look at, and I had this deal under contract for 72. Now, I thought that was a deal, so I shop it out to my buyers that I have in that market. And the buyers came back and said, you know what, 72 is not a good number, it's a busy road, and they pointed out some issues, which is what I was looking for, feedback. Now, when I took this deal, I had a 10-day inspection, which is really good to allow me to do what I'm gonna teach here. So I had a 10-day inspection on this property. Immediately, I send this out to my buyers, a bunch of them go look at it, they tell me, you know what, 72 is really not, and by the way, it's not 72, that's my number, so my number to them, I took it to them at like 80. And they're like, no, that's too much, that's too much. So what do you do now at this point, right? Well, in my inspection, I go back to, and this was a bank-owned property, I go back to the listing agent who I'm double dipping with. If you don't know what that means, go back and watch some of my other videos. I went directly to the listing agent so he gets both sides. Now he's working hard for me because he's getting 6% commission, not 3, okay? So I go back to him and I say, you know what? I can't do 72, and this is what I say. During my inspection, in my due diligence, I found out that my rehab is going to be a lot more than I initially planned. I can't do 72. It's a busy road. You know, I point out all the things basically that my feedback gave me from my wholesalers. And then he comes back and he says, okay, well, what's the number you need to be at? And I said, you know what? I need to be at 55. Okay. So I said, I need to be at 55 for this to work for me. So he says, okay, you know what? I'll see what I can do. So he comes back to me and he says, Jerry, there's another offer that just came in and it's in the 60s, and so I don't think it's gonna work for 55. You know, I'm really sorry. Now that was good for me because I realized 55 is the number, because if there's another offer coming in the 60s, this is a big, needs about 75,000 in rehab. So it's a full rehab, 2,300 square foot house or whatever. ARV on the back end is like 175 or so. And so 55 is actually where I need to be, because I know now that I could wholesale it in the 60s. Perfect, right? Well, then he calls me back about 10 days later and says, hey, guess what? That fell through. Do you still want it? Now, I do, but again, I'm gonna leverage this opportunity. So I say to him, I say, look, I'm still interested, but 55 isn't gonna work for me anymore. I bought some properties, you know, I'm tight on cash. Now I need to be at 50, right? Because it fell through and, you know, there's an opportunity here for me. So I go back and I say, now I need to be at 50. And he says, and we're texting right now, so he says, okay, so is that what you want me to do? Do you want me to submit it at 50? I'm gonna say, yeah, put it in at 50. This is last night, by the way. So he's gonna put it back in for 50. I know I can get 55, but I'm gonna try to get it at 50, knowing that I can wholesale it in the 60s, right? I know I can, because my feedback was that's where I needed to be, and a buyer that fell through was in the 60s. So if I get this thing for 50, I should be able to wholesale this thing for $10,000, $12,000 more. Why? Because I took a bad deal and I reversed it into a good deal. I went back and made it a good deal. And this is something that I'll do often in a market I'm unfamiliar with. I think I know my numbers, I've ran my formula, I've looked at the comps, I think I know my number, but until I get actual feedback from buyers in that market, wholesalers, not wholesalers, but investors in that market, cash buyers, I don't really know. Give me 3 or 4 cash buyers to go look at it and tell me what they think. And here's what I tell them. I ask them, I say, hey, okay, so what price would it need to be at for you to buy this deal? And let's say that they tell me 65. If I could get it for 65, I'd do it. My next question is, if I can get this deal to you for 65, will you buy it? In other words, are you for real? Are you serious? Are you just throwing out a number, or are you a buyer? Right? And then when they say yes, you know, I'll pay 65 for this deal, get it at 65 and I want it. Then I know what I need to do. I need to go back and know that I need to be below 65, 60, 55, depending on what I want to make on a wholesale. In this case, I'm trying to get this thing at 50. I want to hit a 10, 12, maybe even a 15K wholesale on this deal. And I took it from a bad deal at 72 and turned it into a good deal. Now, does that happen every time? No, but what would I normally do? What do most people do if they get in that situation where they get in a bad deal? they would exercise their inspection and back out of the deal and let it go. Well, why do that? Why not try to get it down lower? Now, one word of caution here is don't make a habit out of this. If you do this repeatedly, you're gonna burn bridges, right? You're gonna upset agents. They're not gonna take you serious, and they're not gonna wanna work with you. But legitimately, I said to him, I said, look, you know, and I give him really good reasons. I say, this thing has these issues. They're a lot more than I thought. I originally thought my rehab was gonna be this. Now I think it's this. And these are legitimate concerns. And by the way, I'll put it in writing for you. You can go back to the bank and show them why they need to lower the price and why I need to buy it for less than I thought I needed to buy it. So if you have a really good explanation and you have a logical, you know, reason behind what you're doing, then it makes a lot more sense than if you're just locking stuff up and then trying to cut it at the last second, right? I know people that do that as a strategy repeatedly, and that will in the long run really hurt you, okay? So that's what I wanted to share with you today. How to wholesale a bad deal, turn it into a good deal. That's how you do it. All right, Jerry Norton, I'll see you next time.